It's almost hard to believe Marvel Snap's been out for over a year now. I still remember last summer when I got into the closed beta, I played my first session of the game and was honestly just blown away. I remember coming upstairs from my office and I said to my wife, I think this is it. I think this is the next game for me. And for those that aren't familiar with my content before Marvel Snap, that was a big deal. I'd been streaming for over a decade. I'd been a partner on Twitch.tv for 8 years. I've been doing it as a full time job for over 6 years at this point. And up until Marvel Snap, I was primarily a one game streamer for a different card game, Magic the Gathering. I knew I wouldn't be streaming Magic for forever, but I always kind of thought whenever that was done for me, I'd move back on to other things, more traditional jobs. For people not familiar with my background, I have a graduate degree, an undergraduate degree in mathematics. I've spent time teaching and both working in corporate America before this, and always assumed post Magic, I'd always jump back into that. But then I tried Marvel Snap for the first time. And trust me when I say this, as someone who tries most digital card games at least a little bit when they hit open beta or public release, Marvel Snap just really hit different than most other things in the space. Marvel Snap blowing up in the way no other digital card game has blown up in a long time, honestly, since Hearthstone came onto the scene almost a decade ago, wasn't an accident. Marvel Snap is the culmination of decades of lessons learned by industry experts, culminating in creating the perfect cocktail of not only gameplay, but also economic and predatory hooks to get gamers hooked in and keep playing in perpetuity. That second part that I mentioned catches some people off guard sometimes. Today's video is going to be, like all of my videos, brutally honest. We're going to talk about and praise the many things that I think Marvel Snap has done incredibly well over the course of the last year, but I'm also not going to pull any punches. I'm going to make sure to talk about things that I think they've come up short over the course of the last 12 months and things that I hope that they do better as we look towards the future. Finally, I'm going to close this video out with some fun personal statistics from the last year. I'm going to talk about how much money I personally have spent on Marvel Snap making content, and I'm going to talk about how much I've made both here on YouTube and Twitch in the last year, with Marvel Snap being my full-time content focus. Let's go ahead and jump to it now, shall we? I'd like to start out by talking about what I think has become one of Marvel Snap's greatest strengths over the course of the last year, their regular game balance. Those that have been playing Marvel Snap since the beginning know that Marvel Snap's balance has not always been great. We had Silver Surfer and Zabu that released in December and January in states that could only be described as overtuned. We had toxic designs that were honestly pretty unfun to play against, like the original leader and Galactus, that were dominant in the metagame for far too long before they got adjusted. So what happened? What took Marvel Snap from some design issues dominating the format and some unfun cards running rampant, not being adjusted for too long, to me saying their game balance is one of their greatest strengths? Well, over-the-air updates are what happened. For those that haven't been keeping up with Marvel Snap recently, in addition to patches that change the text on cards and other features and stuff once per month, happening every 4 weeks, twice per month, in addition to that, Marvel Snap does what they call over-the-air updates, or OTAs for short. OTAs are a way for Second Dinner to adjust any of the numbers on a card, cost, power, numbers in the text box, without having to issue a client patch. This allows them to be agile in their balancing and development cycle, to be very responsive to any issues that are coming in the metagame. I'll never say any balance team is doing a perfect job, because game design's honestly just really complicated and you're never going to achieve perfection. But what the OTAs allow the Second Dinner team to do successfully is iterate. It allows them to shoot their shots and not be afraid that if they miss, whatever they miss on is going to cause issues and problems in the metagame for months until their next set of adjustments can happen. They can make a set of changes in a way that they expect could be positive, and if it doesn't have the result that they're looking for, they can rein it back in or make another pass with consistent frequency, getting the game to a phenomenal state a consistent amount of the time. Beyond just over their updates, Marvel Snap also makes text box updates to cards, even going so far as to redesign cards if they think they aren't having a positive and on average fun impact on the format. The best example of this was the complete overhaul they gave to one of Marvel's most iconic heroes this year, Spider Man. The original Spider Man design locked your opponent out of playing cards into his lane on the following turn, which, when used in tandem with other prison style elements like Storm or Professor X, often led to really frustrating play patterns for your opponent. Rather than moving the numbers up and down on this card constantly to try and make it fit into this frustrating design, they took the card back to square one and they designed it in a way that's honestly fantastic and fun. The new Spider Man is a 3/5 who, on reveal, moves himself and another card to his location to another spot. It fits thematically with all the other Spider Verse cards that are moving around the board, and it really shows this attention to detail the second tier design team has, not only for the data and metrics that cards are putting up, but also for the feel that the game has with the top decks play patterns. All in all, Marvel Snap and Second Dinner's balance philosophy feels like exactly what I've always wanted from a live service digital card game. They're proactive, often trying to get out ahead of problems that could be created by new cards they're introducing to the game. When they miss something, they're appropriately reactive in being responsive to trying to make things better. And they're not afraid to iterate and take chances when it could have a cool payoff for the game and the format. Overall, if you're looking for a game that has a phenomenal balance team, I think Marvel Snap a year in definitely has exactly that. The next thing I'd like to draw some comparisons to between Marvel Snap then and now is how the economy has grown and changed. Rather than saying it's better or worse, let's talk through some of the numbers and let them speak for themselves. Past Jeff in January of this year ran the calculations that in order to have every single card under Marvel Snap's weekly releases right when they released would cost approximately 515 USD per month. Past Jeff, not too long ago, under Marvel Snap's current economic model, the change to the Spotlight Cash system, computed that in order to get every single card Marvel Snap is releasing in their weekly releases today, it costs approximately 60 USD per month. Now, while 60 USD is significantly less than 515 USD, it's still significantly more than most people are spending in a month on a game like Marvel Snap. So to draw comparisons for some other metrics, season pass players, those spending 10 USD per month on Marvel Snap, back in January, we're getting the season pass card every month, plus one other new card release right on release, which is approximately 46% of new cards right on release. Compare that to Marvel Snap's economic model today with the Spotlight Cash system, and players spending that 10 USD per month are now getting approximately 86% of new cards right on release. To draw a quick comparison for free-to-play players, they were getting approximately one new card per release cycle, which equated to approximately 23% of new cards right on release at the start of the year, compared to getting approximately 60% of new cards on release under the current Spotlight Cash system. While the Spotlight Cash system has made it objectively cheaper and easier to get access to all of Marvel Snap's newest card releases, it is worth noting that Secondary's implementation of this system change has not been flawless and without deserved criticism. Specifically, we still don't know how or when Second Dinner is going to be handling series downgrades between 5 to 4 and eventually 4 to 3, where Series 3 cards are trivially free for all endgame players. Under Marvel Snap's initial card release system, cards all released into Series 5 to start, costing 6,000 tokens. 2 months later, they downgraded to Series 4, where they started costing 3,000 tokens. And then 3 months after that, or 5 months after they initially released, they became Series 3, where they were trivially free for all endgame players. Hopefully, as we keep poking and prodding Second Dinner to share more information on the details with us, it is worth noting that not all new cards go directly into Series 5 these days. Typically speaking, one or more cards each month has been releasing directly into Series 4, meaning if you miss it in a Spotlight Cache, you can acquire it for 3,000 collector's tokens as opposed to 6,000. I'm not going to give a full rundown for people that have been away from Marvel Snap as to how exactly Spotlight Caches work, but if you want to learn more about that system from when it came out, I'm going to go ahead and link a video with a full breakdown of that, as well as a deeper dive into some of the economy stuff I talked about more recently in the video description down below. For this next section of the video, we're going to talk a little bit about money. We're going to talk about how much money Marvel Snap is making, how much of that money I've paid to Marvel Snap, and how much money Marvel Snap has been making me thanks to videos like this one and my live stream over on twitch.tv. So, is Marvel Snap making money, and how much? Well, we don't have an exact figure. There are websites that report on how much revenue mobile applications are making on platforms like Android and iOS. On September 1st, there was an article published reporting how much money Marvel Snap had made in comparison to other top digital card game competitors. It reported that as of September 1st, Marvel Snap had brought in $100.89 million in revenue on mobile platforms. In comparison, the two Yu-Gi-Oh! Digital clients on mobile had brought in a combined $55.2 million in revenue over the same time period. Magic the Gathering Arena had brought in $19.6 million in revenue, and Hearthstone was trailing at the bottom end of the pack at $18.6 million in revenue. So, how much of that over $100 million in Marvel Snap revenue am I personally responsible for contributing? Looking back over my history in my Google Play Store app, did you know you could do that? You might want to look at how much you're spending. I've spent a total of $5,967.06 on Marvel Snap since it released in October of last year. I'd like to explain / justify that number with a few details I think are important. The first is, this is my job, and some of you might be thinking, well, Jeff, how much could you possibly make doing this? It's just videos on the internet. It's probably more than you think. We'll cover that exact figure in a moment. The second is that, as I mentioned earlier in the economy segment of this video, it used to be a lot more expensive than it is now to get every card right on release. And Second Dinner kind of built up a habit of me spending money to get cards, which I was enjoying upgrading my cards and getting ink splits and gold splits. And as they made it progressively cheaper to keep up with all new cards right on release, I didn't really decrease my spending all that much. So the end result of that is I actually have an incredible amount of resources built up on my account right now. I'm sitting at a little over 60,000 collector's tokens and 27 spotlight caches. And what that effectively means for those of you at home that don't understand what those resources translate into is that if I just continue spending the 10 USD per month on the season pass in Marvel Snap, I realistically have enough resources built up plus the free to play that I get to get every new card on release for the next year or more without really spending anything additional. That being said, while I don't expect to continue spending 500 USD per month, there's going to be some cosmetics coming up that I know I want to purchase, so I'm going to spend a little bit because shiny things make me happy. Before I throw the figures up on screen about how much money I made making Marvel Snap content in the first year after it released, I'd like to preempt a question that always comes up on my live stream when we talk about this topic, and that's, Jeff, why are you talking about money? You're not supposed to do that. You should talk about money and how much you make with other people. The idea of discussing money being taboo exists purely because workers being afraid to talk about how much they make allows the people who are in charge to pay some of them less for doing the same work. You can and should talk about how much money you make with your coworkers. In the United States, it is a federally protected right to do so. There's a good chance some of you are being underpaid. Now, how much did I make in the first year after Marvel Snap released? Well, on my primary platform, twitch.tv, I streamed for 1,750 hours to an average of 2,095 viewers, and my income on the Twitch side was $160,328.57. On the YouTube side, I accumulated 17.7 million views across all my videos and was watched for a total of 2.3 million hours. This resulted in $73,635.84 being made on the YouTube side. To give a little bit extra insight into these numbers, the first thing that I think is important to share is that my job has a little bit of volatility baked into it. Not every month is remotely the same, especially when a game is new like Marvel Snap. On the YouTube side here specifically, things were very different during the first few months after the game released compared to the last few months now that things have stabilized a bit. Specifically, I was releasing 2 or sometimes even 3 videos a day. Most days when Marvel Snap first releases, there were lots of new players coming in looking for beginner guides and basic strategy type things. Of that $73,000 in YouTube income, over $21,000 of it came from the first 2 months I was making content between November and December. To give you insights into my last few months, this YouTube channel on average has brought home about 3,800 USD in each of the months for the last 3 months, compared to the little over 10,000 a month it made at the start of Snap's life cycle. While Twitch has variability as well month to month, my highest grossing month in the past year was just under 20,000 USD and my lowest grossing was just under 10. The average for the last 3 months compared to the start of when Marvel Snap first released is a lot more stable. Specifically, my 3-month average on Twitch is about 12,500 USD, which is very comparable to what I made in November and December when Marvel Snap was first taking off. Part of the reason why Twitch is a more stable income source than YouTube is because a majority of my Twitch income did not come from ad revenue. YouTube, for comparison, had less than 1,000 of the $73,000 in income that it made come from direct donations or paid memberships from people that were supporting the channel. In comparison, on the Twitch side, of the $160,000 I made in the last year, the largest portion of that comes from Prime Gaming subs. For those that aren't familiar, anybody who has Amazon Prime gets Prime Gaming included with that for free. And if you stop by a partner Twitch channel like mine and click subscribe for free with Prime, it takes $2.50 from Jeffrey Bezos and Amazon and sends it my way. That is one of the reasons why Twitch is the premier live streaming platform, because it allows folks like myself to create a sustainable and good income without costing people any actual additional money from themselves. Past just the Prime Gaming subs, Twitch also has a culture of people supporting the content creators that they enjoy directly so we can continue doing the jobs that provide entertainment for them. Of my $160,000 in income in the last year, $34,000 worth of it was from people supporting the channel directly, primarily with a $5 a month monthly paid subscription, of which I get 70% under my Twitch contract. All that being said, I did also generate some ad revenue on Twitch in the last year, even without running nearly as many ads as a lot of creators. My Twitch dashboard tells me, in fact, that I averaged 1 minute and 7 seconds worth of ads for each hour I was live over the course of last year, and this resulted in a little over $28,000 in revenue out of the $160,000 that I made in the past year. The remainder of my Twitch income that wasn't in Prime Gaming subs or paid subs or ad revenue comes from Twitch sponsorships via directly something called the Bounty Board that accounted for $29,000 in revenue, as well as further direct support in the form of gifted subscriptions or bits, which is Twitch's proprietary way of donating money directly, which accounted for approximately $11,000 in revenue between them. To wrap up this section talking about the money that I've made and money that I've spent to make that possible, many of the regulars will know that I took on a video editor to take some of the workload off of me at the start of September and also just greatly increase the quality of this video. They do a phenomenal job like you see here, and to reward them for that phenomenal job since they've come on as editor, I pay them 50% of what this channel makes in a given month with a guaranteed 50 USD minimum per video that they edit. They do fantastic work and they deserve to be compensated fairly for the work that they put forward for this channel. To answer the question the title of this video poses, is Marvel Snap still good a year later? In my opinion, the answer is a resounding yes. Honestly, I think Marvel Snap is a better game today than when it released for the reasons that I highlighted in this video, and I think it was pretty darn good at release. That being said, that's not to say Marvel Snap is perfect, and if I were to make a list of my top hopes for Marvel Snap as we head on into our second year, they would definitely be: I'd like to see some more polish and detail on Marvel Snap's cosmetics. I think their split system is phenomenal. It makes me feel invested in the cards that I have, but I would love something more rare and exclusive than inked and gold to chase on cards that I have literally thousands of boosters for. I hope that we get some investment into social features of potentially multiplayer game modes that would allow people to play and engage with Marvel Snaps with their friends more, a 2v2 mode, clans, guilds, missions that you complete together. I think all of these things would be excellent for keeping existing Marvel Snap players engaged and bringing in new people who want to play with their friends. Speaking of additional game modes, I also hope Marvel Snap continues to iterate and improve on its Conquest tournament format. I think the timers definitely need addressing in that game mode so Marvel Snap can keep that core identity of being quick, punchy gameplay. I also think that they need to consider adding either multi-deck or sideboards so you can get back that feel of agency that you have, where when you get into a bad matchup, you're not just stuck in it. You have a way to either bring in a tech card to help you or switch to a deck that can make that matchup much better for you as a player, adding more tactics and strategy to the game mode as opposed to just making you feel like you're trapped in a bad match. The final thing that I hope for in Marvel Snap as we head on into Series 2, as I hinted at inside of the economy section, is we really need series drops to resume happening again. Even if they don't happen consistently on the regular, we've gone too long without cards moving from Series 5 to Series 4 at this point, and Series 4 to Series 3, and even just some cards moving down, which show a lot of good faith to the community. I think that Second Dinner does still have that as an ideal long-term goal, even if they're not sure exactly what type of cycle they're going to do that under just yet. The final question I like to speculate on is one that people often ask about lifestyle games like Marvel Snap, where you're investing a ton of time and often money, is: does Marvel Snap have a future? Is it a game that we're going to be playing this time next year, or 5 years from now, or perhaps even 10 years from now? Well, it's tough to know. That being said, I think Marvel Snap, and specifically the Second Dinner team, have done a lot of things right and continue to do a lot of things right to give this game the highest chance of success that it can have to be successful here 5 or even 10 years down the line. As for my own personal content, while my enjoyment definitely ebbs and sometimes flows a bit depending on how the metagame shifts, as I highlighted earlier, Marvel Snap gets to ebb and flow a lot, and I think more often than not, it ends up in a fantastic state that I do still truly enjoy playing a year later. As for my personal income, I think similar to Marvel Snap, there's a good chance that the first year the game is out, that's going to be a relative peak for me. That being said, as long as there are people here watching these videos on YouTube and supporting directly on platforms like Twitch, either with their own $5 a month or those Prime Gaming subs, I plan to be here as long as this is sustainable as a job for me and Marvel Snap continues to be a game that I love playing every single day. Whew, this video is certainly a bit more rambly than a lot of the stuff that I post on this channel. Shout outs to whatever small percentage of you made it all the way here to hear this outro at the end. I would love it if you'd do me a favor and snap the like button to help this content reach some more people. Also, leave a comment down below if you have anything that you want to say to me or have a question about any of the information or thoughts that I presented here. 17.7 million views in a year later. I do still read every single comment that's posted on videos and like these, and I do my best to engage with the ones that have questions or deserve engagement with. As always, thanks for watching. I'll be back again tomorrow like I am on most days, and thanks for being here. Enjoy Marvel Snap, folks. Hopefully we'll have another one of these a year from now.